Hi, welcome to a very special edition of the Canadian Securities Exchange podcast. I'm your host, Barrington Miller, Director of Issuer Engagement at the CSE. And today I'm here with Bill Besenhofer from the Fresh Factory BC Limited. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Hi, Barrington. Thanks for having me.
For those of you who have been following us on social media, you might recognize Bill because we did do a newly listed clip where he talked a little bit about the Fresh Factory, but due to high demand and having an interesting story and things that we're going to get into later, such as B Corp and some new technological developments that they have, we figured that this is a great opportunity to showcase and highlight some of the good things and the first ever B Corp company that's listed on the CSE to engage and to share. So, Bill, we are going to rewind a little bit.
Yep.
And in case our audience members don't know what the Fresh Factory is or who it is or what it is you do, please feel free to share what your business is.
Absolutely. So thanks again for having us. We're so excited to obviously be on the CSE and working with you. And so really, what's the Fresh Factory? So we're really a mission-driven platform where we're creating and investing in and really, accelerating some of the food brands of tomorrow, the best food and beverage brands. And when we think about those types of brands, we're really thinking about clean label, fresh, plant-based products. And so what we've kind of done is we've built like this vertically integrated platform from basically farm to table. And that's like from innovation all the way to the end cycle of sales and marketing, that we've built this platform to really be able to provide, clean label, plant-based food, honest food for everyone.
Now, obviously, we're in the midst of the of the global thing that we're going through.
Yep.
Has that affected the no pun intended, the appetites that for people who are either wanting to eat healthier, cleaner, greener, more eco-friendly, or the appetites for the investor who may start looking towards these types of things and products?
Yeah. So, it's interesting that you say that. I'm sure like with anything in general, I think, when people are down and out, so to speak, they go away from sometimes eating healthy, quite frankly. I'd say that wasn't the case with us. Luckily enough, we've been able to establish some really, really good products for a lot of our emerging brands, as well as a lot of our customers. And so what we've seen is that we've seen a growth in that, because I think, as you know, with the way of life where most people are spending more time at home, they're not really getting out of the house. So there's no exercise, there's none of that. And so I think people have started to realize that, okay, we've got to kind of move on. We've been a few years into this. We do need to make sure we're continuing to eat healthy and making sure that we're looking at what's on the back of the labels and whatnot. And so from that perspective, it hasn't really changed in that regard. That movement has been going on. And I think what COVID did is really accelerated it, quite honestly, especially for some of the companies that, are direct to consumer, which we have a lot of customers that are direct to consumers.
You mentioned about brands and branding.
Yep.
How would one go about achieving brand loyalty? And how do you penetrate? What's that secret, if you're allowed to say it, what's that secret sauce for getting that?
I quite frankly, I think it's just being honest. It's being honest with the food that you're providing customers. It's knowing where the food actually comes from, and that customer building a relationship, knowing that they can trust the food that you're going to provide them is going to be clean and healthy for them, so that they don't have to worry about thinking that, on the back of that label, there's that tiny little print that you miss that might be not so good for you. I think it's really building the trust factor with your end consumer.
You are not the only company that's in the space. There is so much buzz around, like I said, clean eating, healthy eating, green eating, all of those things. What is one of your differentiators from a company from all the noise?
Sure. Yeah. So I'd say, well, first off, I think you kind of mentioned it a little bit, and not to maybe steal your thunder, but, really, being a B Corp. That's one of the things that and we can get into more detail in a second here, but that's really one of the things that, quite frankly, really is a point that really differentiates us. And so when we talk about, what's a B Corp, because I'm not sure that everyone fully grasps and understands what a B Corp is.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So, what that means is that we're really, we're environmentally and socially focused. And I say that, and I'll give you some examples. We compost 100% of our waste. So of all of the waste that we have from our produce and things that we make, we compost all of that. We're donating 1% of one of our brands of sales. We're donating 1%. Nearly 40% of the produce that was local to our facility. So basically, we're finding ingredients and farmers that are within 40% of that is within, a very short distance from our facility. The other thing is, our team is like extremely diverse, right? We've got, 41% identifying as women and, 84% of person of color. So really it's about making sure, giving people a quality of living, paying, not minimum wage, paying more than minimum wage. And so that's something that we take a lot of pride in each and every year, and making sure that we continue, to uphold the B Corp certification.
Two-part question on the B Corp.
Sure.
One,
yeah.
Is it a hard designation to get? And two, the chicken and egg. Were you acting in this way, and then you're like, oh, I may as well go for the certification because we're already halfway there, or 3/4 or whatever? Or
yeah.
Was this at top of mind when the company formed, saying, okay,
Yep.
we want to be this type of company and stand out, and it's going to be there from the start?
Sure. It's not easy. I will say that it is definitely not an easy designation to get. It's funny because there's so many different buckets that in some cases you don't even necessarily realize. And I think the evolution of the B Corp, of the criteria, has definitely changed over the years. I mean, like it just continues to increase and grow. I think, early on there were certain categories, and then as you keep going, it just keeps kind of getting larger and larger. I'd like to say that this is kind of something that we kind of live by, and the way that we wanted to build the company in its own right. So I think it was really more about, man, we're in line with exactly what a B Corp is. And we knew from the start that we did want to be a B Corp, but we were living our lives that same way. So it just made sense for us to kind of flow and process right through to a B Corp certified company, because that's who we are as people.
Oh, what advice would you give companies that are seeking this designation? Because you said it's hard to get, and what's some of the things that you've learned?
Yeah, I think some of the things that I've learned through this one, and all of us have learned, is that it is a process for sure. But I think that at the core of it is I think you just have to have, it's kind of got to be who you are. I mean, and it's something internally within inside of you that if this is something you truly want to do and want to be, then you make it a priority. It pretty much like anything in life, right? If you prioritize something, then you have the ability to focus on it and work through it. And I think, with us, again, because if you live it every day, it's a lot easier than trying to go be someone you're not. And so being something we are, it makes it a lot easier. But I would say it does take time. I mean, it takes a lot of time. And I think especially as a newer company and up and coming, and obviously sometimes it's not easy. It's not the cheapest at times too, right? So there are tough decisions that have to be made, but I would say that I would keep plugging away and making sure that you're true to who you are. And I think if you can do that, then I think that it'll come to you, pretty naturally then.
Well, you are the first company, I believe, listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange with a B Corp designation. And hopefully you will not be the last, because I agree with you. This is something that is going to continue. And I think the flow of capital will start to support that more each and every year, each and every quarter, all of those things.
For sure.
Now, our audience, we run a show every Tuesday. We're in our second season now, called Tech Tuesdays. And what is Tech Tuesday, and why am I bringing this up? It's a showcase, a 45-minute showcase of CSE companies as well as some private companies talking about new kinds of technology and innovations. Really, really good. 4:15 Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. Come check it out. It was created by one of our colleagues, Mr. Mark Francis, based out of Calgary. You probably already know him. Why am I bringing this up? Technology. Technology is a role that is extremely important to a lot of companies, and it just so happens that the Fresh Factory has something called a shrink sleeve.
Yes.
What is that tech, and what does it do?
Sure. Yeah. So we have just invested in a shrink sleever. We partnered with a company called Innovar. And what a shrink sleeve is it really allows us the capabilities to fill hot filled products within, whether it be a glass and or plastic bottles. And that shrink sleeve is what really goes over the top of the bottle and covers the entirety of the bottle from head to toe. So if I were to try to think of an example, if you were to go to, any of your local, Whole Foods or whatnot, and you take a look at an aisle, you might find whether it's a smoothie or a protein shake, or even like cold pressed juice. Some of those companies will have a sleeve that goes over the entirety of the bottle, giving you all sorts of different colors. And it's not just a label. It's not just a one little label that goes around and you see the product. This actually covers the whole product, shows you all these different colors. And a lot of times customers really like some of this because of the fact they can actually put more marketing. They can put more into what's on the bottle itself, and they can share more of their story on the bottle.
So is this company solely for the Fresh Factory?
Yeah, so Innovar is actually the provider of the equipment that we partnered with. We do have, which I know I'm not at liberty to say, we do have an anchor customer that is coming in that is going to do probably close to 1 million bottles a year with us. And that is a product that would be in the liquid form that's going into these bottles. And so that's not Innovar, that's a different company. We've got a bunch more that we're going to be coming out here soon that we'll put out some press releases of a bunch of new equipment in each of our production lines. That's going to really just help us grow with capacity. Some of it is existing technology and just upgrading lines. And then some of it down the road here in the next few months is really like state of the art new technologies that we're going to be getting into.
So the new technologies, and I know you're not going to say anything else, but the companies that you align with and that you partner with, and like you said, you're from seat to table. The companies, the smaller mom and pop shops, don't normally have access to this type of technology, and they don't normally have access to the knowledge base and the expertise that a company like yours has. How was this, I guess, to increase the efficiency? How was this increased your value? And I don't necessarily just mean the dollar value, but where you are in the food chain.
With some of the things that we're able to do, and again, this is kind of goes back to like, well, what differentiates us from everybody else that's out there, so to speak. And again, there's a lot of things that actually differentiate us, but another piece is that we're not in that old school form where it's a facility where you need X amount of volume and you need all this massive, long preservative type products. We've got this quick and nimble facility that's been built that allows smaller runs. With the amount of brands that are being created every day, I mean, last year alone, there's like 20,000 brands that were created. And all of them are trying to get to shelf as quickly as possible. In the old school model, they'd never be able to get to that because of the fact that it just takes too much time. There's lead times, there's minimum order quantities. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the old mold. And so what we really wanted to do is be able to provide that opportunity to some of these emerging brands. The interesting thing is it's actually not just the emerging brands. It's actually large, big, publicly traded companies too, who are extremely interested in what we've been providing from an innovation perspective, where they start to think, man, this is where we need to go, because these guys really have this expertise in the clean labeled, fresh space. we really should try to go to these guys and maybe take some of our old product, which has preservatives. Let's clean this product up. Even though we've been on shelf for 50 years, let's see what we can do and go clean this product up and maybe reinvent ourselves or rebrand ourselves.
That is something that I didn't anticipate. I didn't see that coming. And again, for investors who are listening, that's part of change. It's innovate or don't exist. And
Yep.
You're clearly helping that.
Yep.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, you're listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and we are more than happy to have you. But you're expanding, and when I say expanding your reach, expanding your own brand and your own recognition. You recently are now being quoted on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange.
Yes. Yes.
How did that process come about? Why Frankfurt?
So, obviously everything that you guys have done for us has been fantastic. And I think one of the things that we wanted to do was to broaden our scope of investors and really broaden it internationally, not just within Canada and the US, but we wanted to go elsewhere. And we really felt like Frankfurt was an opportunity for us to put some more opportunity for international investors to be a part of what we're building here, because we think that the things that we're building that they'd be very interested in, and it would definitely help with them to be a part of it.
Are there this is going to sound like a naive question,
Yeah.
but is the trend elsewhere outside of North America the same as North America? Do people in Europe want to eat cleaner and healthier and greener and more eco-friendly, and is there an interest there?
You know what? I would tell you yes. And I would tell you yes, because we actually are working with some of the larger companies in Europe who they themselves want to come to the United States and launch some of their own, how do I say it, their own brands or their own technologies and whatnot. And so when we start to see that it's happening over in Europe, we already see it here. We obviously know the US, we know Canada, we know that everybody is on board, but we start to see it in Europe as well. And so just because of the customers and people that have come to us. So to answer your question, yes, I think they do. And I think they are obviously on the same trend as us in the healthy food space and wanting to be.
What are some of the hurdles and challenges that could come up and could arise for companies in the space? And how do you see yourself or those companies getting around it or by it or through it?
Sure. Yeah, man, that's a really interesting question. I would say, I would actually turn this around, because I would say there's always going to be hurdles when it comes to fresh and clean product. And I say that because it isn't easy. It's not easy. And sometimes it's not all that cheap, because we haven't gotten to a point where the norm is fresh, clean product, right? I mean, that's just not where it's at. There's going to be companies and larger companies with preservatives and things of that nature that could stay on shelf for quite some time. So I would tell you that there's definitely hurdles already, in the sense that being able to create products that are very clean and healthy for you over that cost barrier and price barrier is definitely a challenge that we work with every day. But again, over time, as things start to come, which in some cases they're increasing right now in the world that we live in. But the reality is that it is a bit of a struggle right now to basically figure out a way to bring down the price so that truly everybody can eat healthy. And I think that over time, as everyone starts to get bought into this and really start to do it, well, now you take the level of what the expectation is, that it has to be that. And that, kind of is where we kind of feel it would go.
No, I'm glad you actually brought that up when you're talking about, and this has been out for years. They'll say like a cost of a Happy Meal. Not saying what company does Happy Meals,
right,
but
right.
the cost of a Happy Meal is this. And if you want to eat something healthy, it's twice the amount.
Twice the price. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it starts with, I think it starts with schools. New York State banned, I think, jumbo size containers of drinks and there's a lot of schools that have removed pop and soda machines
for sure,
for the accessibility, because of
what it is, Barrington. It really comes back to like knowledge, right? It becomes back to learnings. And I think the more that you find of ourselves and people out there that are doing these things, and there's an avenue for these brands and people to go to, I think it just builds more awareness and it just keeps pushing the movement forward, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Can people expect to see Fresh Factory with big widgets and operating in the metaverse?
You know what? That's interesting. This is definitely an off the cuff question. I'll be honest, I have not even thought of that.
It's coming. It's coming.
I would say nothing. Look, we are we've built ourselves on being entrepreneurs. I'd say experts in execution and executing on operational, companies. I would say anything's possible. I'll leave it at that. Anything's possible for sure. So,
well, before we came on camera, we were talking a little bit about your team and the colleagues and things like that.
Yep.
For our audience, could you, I guess, talk a little bit about the people who you work alongside with,
sure,
and their role and contribution to the Fresh Factory?
Sure, absolutely. So we have such a really great team. I mean, I got to tell you, we have a great team. We have a lot of great experience. We've got a few food scientists that are on staff for us that are absolutely top notch. We've got a great quality team, great supply chain team. And again, supply chain being so important, especially during this time of COVID, and having relationships with, farmers near and far, as well as packaging vendors. I mean, obviously everyone's been through it and understands, some of the packaging comes from, across the ponds. And so, us being able to have some, good relationships has really helped save quite a few companies, so to speak, to be able to make sure that they were able to get on shelf. But, we have a great team, a great management team of experienced executors. I mean, people that have been there and done that before within the business space. And then, we have some phenomenal advisors. I mean, we've got some fantastic advisors that have been in, they've been in a lot of different companies in the wellness space, in the food space. And, we're really, really lucky, to have those people a part of our team.
That is truly a positive statement to the quality of the type of company, of the B Corp company, because at the end of the day, it's about the product, but it's about the people who are representing that product and the people who are making it and who are there every single day on the front lines, fighting that good fight. Where do you see this going?
Sure.
And I don't mean just the Fresh Factory. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the whole landscape and the whole industry.
Yeah.
Is this a trend? Is this a fad, or is this the new paradigm?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really bullish. My partners and I and our team has been very bullish in this space for quite some time. To the days back to our own, venture investing, 10 years ago. This is not going away. It's definitely not going away. I really do feel like we are at the forefront of the food movement. It is happening. And quite frankly, COVID has helped kind of push that even further, quite frankly, right? You start to see these direct to consumer businesses, more and more people are ordering their food or their dinner, so to speak, and then they're preparing it at home, or they're prepared meal kits and whatnot. And those meal kits are being produced and made by people like us, quite frankly, which are clean and healthy for you. And I mean, there's just, again, it comes with knowledge. Knowledge is power. And I think as you start to learn more and more about this, and you keep moving forward with the health aspect of it, I just don't see it stopping. And, again, we do really feel like we have a special nugget here, and there is a chance for us to be, really at the first forefront of this food movement.
Who is your consumer? Who's your customer? Is it 18 to 25? Is it 26 to 35?
It's crazy. I mean, look, I could break this down in multiple different areas. I could tell you, I'm going to start with, let's call it the younger generation. I mean, really what's happening is the younger generation are now, they're more educated. They're looking at the backs of labels and understanding how important it is to make sure that they're eating the right foods. And so they've kind of started that, so to speak. And I use them as an example because our quick service restaurant customers, those are the types of people, and the young students who are going to the schools and whatnot, they're purchasing from the quick service restaurants who we have. Then you start to move on in the age bracket. Now you start to move up into your, your 25 to your 35, 40-year-olds, right? Those are the people that are maybe right in that range, where they're maybe right out of college and they're starting their work life and they're working all the time. Well, those people are now doing at-home meal kits because they don't necessarily have enough time potentially. Maybe now they have some time because of COVID, but they have time to be able to kind of like cook their meals or be able to have some prepared meals for them, because people were on the go a lot and they're kind of always active. And so that next group is really looking to be eating healthy as best they can. And then you start to get into my bracket, and you start to get into the older, late 30s, early 40s, into the 50s, where now you've got some more knowledge and people realize that, look, for me to keep a healthy lifestyle and to live a longer life, I need to make sure that I'm putting the right things into my body. And so what's interesting is it kind of goes really across the board. I wouldn't say that there's just like one specific. I think there's a subset of the entire, age population that are really bought into, fresh, clean labeled, food.
And that's great, because that sort of also represents the investor. It's not just the consumer, it's
Exactly.
the investor. I'm literally
Exactly.
eating what I believe in, putting my money where my mouth
is. Yep. Absolutely.
That was not planned, audience. Now, are there any other things that you would like to talk about, or what can we expect?
Yeah. So
from the
I'm glad. So I think that some of the things I want to make sure we definitely say is the uniqueness of what we've built, and the uniqueness of what we've built with the platform that we're creating, in the food space. You might have seen it in other areas and whatnot, but really what we're trying to build is the opportunity, especially from like an investor perspective, is that you have the opportunity to be investing in something that, we have services that we provide, which services last from, large traded companies to emerging brands. And really, what the opportunity is that those services, obviously help pay and do some things and help pay bills, so to speak. But then you have the opportunity to invest within some emerging brands because of the platform that we offer. There are times where we're able to potentially offer some, and get some equity into these brands. And so to some extent, it's kind of like, a call option, right? And it's really, you're producing this customer, you're able to do some things from whether it be a financing perspective or some services perspective that you can get some equity into that company. And now you have the ability to have like this call option while also making money with the services from that deal.
So just to put it simply, when somebody invests into the Fresh Factory, they're not only investing into the Fresh Factory, they're investing into the investments, air quotes, or literal, that the Fresh Factory that the Fresh Factory has made. So it's
you're getting more. You're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak, because look, it's allowing you as an investor to get into a segment or a space in a sector. Whereas if you wanted to go just with one company, you're now one dimensional and you're just in that company. Whereas with us, you're coming in and we've got, 4 or 5, you've got an opportunity for just all it takes is one of those companies to hit, but all the while still making money on the services of the business. So you're getting like the best of both worlds.
Oh, Bill, that is an excellent note to wrap up on. I just want to thank you on behalf of the Canadian Securities Exchange for your continued listing with us. Well, we support you. We hope you and your family and colleagues and everyone continue to remain healthy and safe during this time. If you'd like to find out more information, please contact or look up www.thefreshfactory.co. As well, if you have questions for Bill, you can reach out to him directly. You can reach out to their info at or you can reach out to myself and I'll put you in touch with Bill because we got that kind of relationship.
Yep.
If you like this content and I'd like to hear more, please visit www.thecse.com as well. Check us out on our YouTube channel, CSE TV. We're also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I've been your host, Barrington Miller. This has been a special edition of the CSE podcast. We will see you on the next episode.